Welcome back. I certainly hope that you caught our first video. If not, there's a link on our website where you can easily get to it. My name is Mike Freemire. I'm an investment advisor with Full Circle Financial of Colorado. I'd like to take just a few moments in this second video just to review what we talked about in the first. We talked about what it means to be a behavioral financial advisor. In essence, we want to do something a little bit different. If you think about it, our natural reaction when we are posed with a decision, a question, what do we do, how do we act, what are we going to move forward with, we generally go to what are we feeling, what are we doing, and what are we thinking. And what we try to do in the behavioral financial advisor model is to say, what are we thinking, what are we feeling, and what are we doing? Now, over time, what that means is we're probably going to make less emotionally charged decisions, and we're going to have a greater probability, albeit no guarantees, but a greater probability of making better decisions that, frankly, we feel good about. So we think, we feel, and then we act, or we do. And that really makes for better decisions. Along the lines of thinking, feeling, and doing, we also use the smart money philosophy. And in a nutshell, the smart money philosophy says, if we're planning properly and we understand what a client's goals are we planning for college education or educations? Are we planning for a first home, a second home, a car purchase? Are we planning for retirement? Are we planning for maybe let's set money aside and take that big family vacation or go meet up with friends? Whatever that may be. If we use the smart money philosophy and we truly work with our clients very closely, we understand what they're trying to accomplish. In doing so, we match the finances with their values, with their goals, with their objectives, both short, mid, and long term. Lastly, what we try to do is we try to plan for the certainty of uncertainty. When we think about our lives, we are certain that every day is dynamic. It changes. Regardless of whether we just take the day off and go take a nap, the world around us changes, and the consequences of that change directly affect us and our families. So we try our best from a financial perspective to plan for the certainty of uncertainty. Along the lines of the certainty of uncertainty comes the issue of risk. If we think about risk, I ride a motorcycle. I'm the guy with the leather chaps, the full jacket, the full face helmet, the gloves, and the boots. I'm doing everything I can to minimize my risk. I pull up next to others and they don't have any of that protective equipment on. We're still going down the same street. If the same thing happens to me as what happens to them, say there is an accident or we slide out on sand or something like this, the probability of me getting injured is much less because I've taken less risk. The other person may say, I like the feel of this or really like this up until the time that the pavement meets their skin, and therein lies the issue. So what level of protection are we using when it comes to investments? What level of risk tolerance do you have as an investor, and have you communicated that with your investment advisor? Are they listening? Or do they just have products to offer you? In other words, hop on this motorcycle. I guess it'd be okay if you wore a sweatshirt and a pair of jeans, and you should be okay. Is that really making you comfortable when you get on that motorcycle? Same is true when it comes to investing. If you're in something, do you know why you're in it? Do you understand, perhaps if you have multiple investments, what the overlap is between the underlying securities? And are you thinking you're in a position where you're not taking the level of risk you are, but in fact, because you're in 3 or 4 funds and they all have the same primary investments, you're actually heavily overweighted and heavily risky. And so these are the types of things we try to do in order to minimize risk, to prepare for the certainty of uncertainty. And a natural progression from that conversation really becomes, are we speculating on the hope of today's move, or are we investing for the long term? So are we speculating or investing? And you'll hear people say, well, we do a lot of trading. Okay, if you talk to many analysts, what you'll find is that long-term investors and people that invest consistently over time, generally speaking, while no guarantees, do better and have done better historically. And reasonably speaking, we would think that if they're disciplined in their investments and they understand where they're going, there's less probability of wanting to jump off and try this new thing that they heard about at a particular gathering, or their brother-in-law's sister's friends told them that there may be this opportunity. Well, opportunities abound. Money is hard to come by. So let's make sure we balance risk and risk tolerance, helping clients to sleep at night, and putting clients in a position where they say, I may not have done exactly today or exactly over the last year what the gross market has done on the S&P 500 or a particular stock, but I slept at night. I understood why I was in what I was in. I understand where we're going. I understand what a reasonable rate of return is over the long term. And frankly, we're working with somebody that actually understands and values that which we value, understands me as a person, understands my family, frankly, knows my kids. And to me, if I'm off a couple points at the end of the year based on some skyrocketing stock or other security, I really don't care. That's what we like to hear our clients say, because frankly, they sleep at night. They don't have to wake up and hope we caught the very high or the very low to buy the next available instrument. So deep within our brain is our amygdala. And our amygdala basically gives us what everybody's familiar with, the fight or flight mechanism. Within 12 milliseconds of a particular sighting or reaction to something which really draws our attention, our inner brain is making a decision for us. Whether we like it or not, it's immaterial. It's saying either fight or flight. Within 46 milliseconds, that same signal has finally reached the thinking part of our brain where we say, what do we really want to do? And it's probably not actually that drawn out, but it takes literally almost 4 times as long to reach the part where we think versus the part where we react. So getting back to the thinking, feeling, and doing, if you have an investment advisor who is working with the notion of a behavioral financial advisor model. So what is the situation? What do we think about that? What do we know? What are the outside circumstances? And what's the best decision to make? Then how do we feel about that? And then what do we ultimately do? That puts us in a position where we make better decisions. Let's talk about that. If we've made better decisions, we have a full fit. So we come, if you will, full circle, understood values, understood goals, understood what our parameters, understood our risk tolerance, understood what it means when we really win and when we don't. We understand there's no guarantees in life, but ultimately we make decisions collectively that we know what fits us best. So in working with clients, we understand it's not just a group of clients. It's not a block of clients that all fit this general demographic. It's about an individual person or 2 people and their family and what makes sense for them. And that's when it becomes full fit. So the difference is, are you wearing a suit off the rack, or are you wearing something which is tailored to you? Are you riding that motorcycle with all the proper gear on, or are you just flying down the road and hoping that the skin does not happen to touch the pavement? If you find that happening, you'll know that that was not how you wanted to end your ride. So as you go through life, let's make sure that we have a full fit in your investments and that you're comfortable with it, we're comfortable with it, and we work side by side throughout life to be able to get you something which makes the most sense. One of the reasons why I became an investment advisor a number of years ago was because having been a client, I understood what it was like to be on the receiving end of the client experience where you're part of a demographic. And for people that look, act, and feel like you and earn this much money and have 3 children and they want to send them to college, well, then you just put them into this model. And I knew there was something better. I just couldn't find it. So I thought I'd just get in the business. So I've been an entrepreneur for years and have walked other roads, have worked in corporate America. But the reality of it is there's no greater joy than to be able to work with clients and to be able to say, we developed this plan and now your child is going to go to college and you're still saving for retirement. And while we knew there was uncertainty, we walked through that together. And there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between what I experience and I believe what you're experiencing. And the question is ultimately, what additional information do you need? And then let's have that conversation and go from there. In 2020, the markets were going great. And then the markets fell by roughly 1/3. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? And what were you doing? It's probably not the order you had. You had what were you feeling, what were you doing, and what were you thinking would be what most people do. And then secondly, what was the level of interaction you had? Was your investment advisor on the phone to you or meeting you in person and saying, look, this is what's happening in the world. This is what we talked about regarding the certainty of uncertainty, and this is how we're buffered against some of this. Okay, not all of it, but some of it. And how has your world changed? Did you have that conversation? I know I did with my clients. We had them multiple times, and it was a tough year. It turned out to be a great year, one of the best years ever, frankly, in the market. But it turned out to be a brutal year for people who didn't have conversations, who didn't have that relationship with their investment advisor, who laid awake at night and wondered, where does tomorrow take me? And that's why I'm in this business. And the volatility at the beginning of 2021, you better be having that conversation. And if you're not, then make a decision to do something different. Do something that's in your best interest. Do something that makes sense for you and your family and your kids and perhaps generations to come, and that can start today. Back to my son's wedding, my oldest boy's wedding. He got married about 4 years ago, and I thought to myself, this is awesome. For the guys, they were all in a tailored suit, and they had a great evening. Everybody had something that fit them well. And the question is, do you have that type of comfort? Do you have that type of confidence? Do you have that type of relationship today? I dare say most people don't. And it's the opportunity. You can easily click on the link, go to my calendar, let's schedule an appointment, pick up the phone. I still answer the phone, and let me know, when would you like to talk? And we can discuss that which you would like to talk about and see if there's a good fit. It's what we do on a daily basis. I hope you contact me. If not, we'll see you in the next video.